establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And also, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Emily Harrison. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to me to connect with like-minded women. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I love to help women to cross roads in their life, heal their past, create their future, and transform their present so they can take charge of their destiny in the here and now. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I use angelic Reiki, future life progression, past life regression, meditation, angel oracle cards, and hypnosis to help women who feel lost get clear on their reason for being here. And I've also created several transformation and packages to help you take charge of your destiny and a journey through lifetimes. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Emily Harrison, who'll be sharing how any one of us can access the Akashic Records. Now, after becoming a certified Akashic Records practitioner in 2015, Emily's life shifted dramatically. Leaving behind a career in Hollywood, Emily created a healing business that includes teaching, speaking, and contributing to the Huffington Post and mentoring other light workers in the Akashic Records. Now, Emily is the founder and director of the Akashic Academy, a modern day mystery school dedicated to sharing knowledge that is changing the planet. Emily is very passionate about energy work and making the Akashic Records available to those who are ready to take the next step on their journey. Now, having part of Emily's Akashic Academy Masterclass series, I can definitely say I visited my records and I've been trying for ages to do that, but with Emily's help, I did manage to do it. So it's worth doing. Now, with testimonials such as I've been reconnected with my beautiful sister Emily, who I adore. She has so much wisdom to impart in a beautifully authentic way. I'm so grateful that one decision and where it has led me and continues to do so. And going through the Akashic Records program with Emily Harrison has been life changing. It has awakened so many spiritual gifts within me and has allowed me to strengthen my connection to my spirit team. And going through each module has opened me up to my true self and has strengthened my purpose and calling. My calling has never been clear and prevalent. I'm grateful for the support and the Akashic family. You're a blessing to those who are in need of that extra insight and guidance. So, without further delay, hello, Emily, and welcome to the Angel and Destiny Show. How are you today?
Wow, I was doing great before. We were having fun and giggling together
We
before.
were.
I wasn't expecting you to read back testimonials though out loud as we came on here. That was really beautiful and a little challenging to sit still and receive, but very beautiful. And I'm so excited to be here with you and your audience today. This is really fun. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Emily and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. And we've already got a couple of people. Um, oh, where we go with that. My screen has now decided to grab. There we go. So we have got Daniel is here and he is saying hello. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Jamie McDonald is here. And Suze Murphy says, hello, ladies. Hi,
Hello.
Suze. Thank you for joining. So, Emily, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how we can access the Akashic Records?
Well, of course, I knew you were going to ask me that, Ray. And I was thinking about that before I came on. I was actually thinking about it in a different way.
Hmm.
Um, and I'd love to just, for 1 second, acknowledge the incredible energies that we're experiencing right now, because the veils are very thin. And I found myself seeing things from many different perspectives this weekend in a really interesting way, including talking about the Akashic Records and telling my story from a slightly different perspective, because generally I talk about the journey of how I got to being curious about the Akashic Records, and like what my crazy aha moment looked like. But what I realized that I don't talk about, it's a great story, by the way. I love telling stories. But what I realized, that the part of the story that's really important that I haven't practiced nearly as much. So when we talk about it today, we got to talk about our acting
We
connect
did, yes.
behind the scenes, right?
Oh, definitely,
And
definitely.
I actually, because I was just thinking about it before I came on, I haven't really felt into the story too much. But where I really want to cultivate and share the story with visionaries and thought leaders, is around where I was struggling at that time. Because it's like I said, a fascinating story. I was in Hollywood and had grown up in a really small town. I'll give you just, okay, here's the abridged version.
The bridge
Small
version.
town Hollywood girl, broke out of that matrix, went to Hollywood. In Hollywood, had quite a bit of success, and found that one of the tools that I used to compose myself in that really intense, high level environment was meditation, which, had its own journey to unfolding a really powerful tool of consciousness, the Akashic Records. And I'll talk more specifically about the records. But what I feel inspired to share today, because maybe not a lot of people can relate to growing up in a small town and then going to Hollywood and then going into meditation and then having this like crazy metaphysical experience. But I think a lot of people can relate to, especially if they're drawn into this space, your visionaries, your thought leaders. You can relate to the challenges that you're experiencing, because a pattern that I'm finding right now, that I transitioned through a couple of years after 2012, 2014 and 2015 were really big transition years for me. I felt like I was on the cusp of what I'm going to talk to you about. This pattern that I'm seeing is we're transforming in this lifetime into something new. We are transfiguring. We are alchemizing our old self. Another way to say it is time is speeding up. We're living many lifetimes in one lifetime right now. And those of us who are feeling the calling for something more, what is really happening is it's like a timeline crunch where we're closing down an old octave or an old expression of ourselves, because that no longer serves our highest growth. It's no longer the conscious vehicle for our highest growth. And we've got to create something new. We've got to align to something new. So I was feeling really frustrated in um, feeling expressed. I loved acting. I loved being in Hollywood. Yet, what actually drew me to Hollywood, which I didn't understand in the very beginning, was this love for human emotion and how we emote and how we experience life all the same way, all together. Right. And what I found was that I had to show up and emote as some character of an audition that I was um, a part that I was trying to get in, and I didn't really feel like there was a lot of creative control over how I was showing up. It wasn't really fulfilling me, and I was so curious about meditation, because the more I dove into metaphysics, the more I began to discover new nuances of my own energy that really intrigued me. And I couldn't deny that the old expression just felt really unfulfilled. And this new expression felt very curious and alive.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, I would just love to hear from the audience. Can anybody relate to feeling like how you've been showing up in this latest chapter of your life is inviting transformation, a
Yeah,
new expression?
yeah. Jay Sinclair says yes. It feels that way, and I'm sure that some of the others on here have also been feeling the shift in energy that's really coming in now. And even I've even noticed people that aren't really, that I know that haven't really been on that spiritual path are kind of like going, is there something going on at the moment? It just seems like things are changing. It's not quite right as it was.
Mhm. Well, our subtle energy bodies are definitely waking up as a collective. And when that happens, we have a sense, whether we understand that uh, we're collecting data from the subtle field rather than just experiencing with our five senses. We're expanding. Whether we understand that or not, it's happening. It's actually a galactic shift, or I shouldn't say shift. Everyone's experiencing it, but it's the result of galactic alignment.
Yeah.
And if you study the Mayan calendar or countless other cultures who track time and astrology and how our solar system is moving through the galaxy, we realize that we're being bombarded with these photons of light that are causing this wake up of our DNA right now, which is why tools like the Akashic Records are coming back on the planet and making themselves more available in everyone's awareness. It's actually the records aren't necessarily making themselves more available. It's that we're vibrating on a higher frequency, so we have access to and are opening up new opportunities to recover tools, ancient tools.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Jay says, true, yes.
Well, thank you, Jay.
And I think everyone else is a little bit shy at the moment to actually put anything on there for that. But we'll keep an eye on that and see if anyone puts anything else on whilst we're continuing.
Well, let me just throw out a super easy question. How many of you all have heard of the Akashic Records before? Let me just get a feel for how much the Akashic Records have revealed themselves so far.
Yeah, let's see who.
The beautiful thing is, regardless of if this is the first time you're hearing of this concept, the Akashic Records, or you've heard of it before, it's revealed itself in your awareness before, there's something really special for you. I find that this tool tends to start working and inviting and connecting with the consciousness of those who need to receive it in this moment before we even show up.
Yeah, and Sherry definitely says yes, she's heard of it, and Jamie
Right on, yes.
says yes.
That's because she's my student,
Aha,
Miss Jamie.
yeah. And I know Susie's here has heard of it because I know Susie. So, but yep. And Kathy says yes, it's all starting to open up for me now.
Ooh, so good. Yes. So I'm just going to set an intention right now that wherever you're at on the journey of accessing the Akash, that it opens up another layer for you today. It's a tool that, like we said in the title or the description, it's available for everyone.
Yeah. And Jay says, I don't know much, but I know I don't know much, but I know if this makes sense.
Great. Well, Ray, would it be okay if I gave just a brief and concise description of like what the records are and how?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So the Akashic Records are the realm of consciousness where all information is programmed, past, present, all possible futures. Every human has access to them. When I shared out this broadcast this morning, I wrote a little message to go along with it in my Facebook feed and talked about, the myth of only high level mystics and oracles can access the Akashic Records. And the truth is, the Akashic Records are a tool that are designed for every single human to access, that is going to allow you an alternate perspective. Just so happens to be the God level perspective, people, universal consciousness. This is the what's known as the God mind, super consciousness. It is all data recorded from a neutral perspective, which means from the perspective of unconditional love and zero judgment. And it presents itself as a tool when we tap into it to give us clarity, guidance, wisdom, healing, vision. There are so many different uses for the Akashic Records. And when I use them personally with my clients and my students, we focus on the human's ability to heal. We have so many different areas we need to heal because what does healing mean? Healing means that we're vibrating on a frequency where the disharmony is not expressed, but we are truly connected to the God mind, the God energy, which means that we're all abundant in resource. We understand how our human body, our mechanism works. There is incredible genius and magic and alchemy that can be done within the human specimen. And we're a unique experiment because we happen to be waking up, but have been very asleep in this current incarnation. There have been past civilizations here on the planet that have had access to more of their multidimensionality. But we've experienced this fall from grace, this recurrent story, right? This Atlantis Lemuria 4 times. This is the 5th cycle of it. And we have, my whole body buzzes as I talk the bigger picture. But we have this opportunity to use the Akashic Records to direct our own path of personal expansion and growth. The peace that we need to see on our planet, the revelation of truth that we need to see on our planet, all of that must happen within. And I guarantee you the only reason that it's happening on the surface of our planet, in the public of our planet, is because it's still reflected from within each one of us. So once we learn to create harmony and we learn the lessons that we're all here to learn, we start to transmute this. And the Akashic Records allow us that perspective so that we can see where the disharmony is actually being created within. And then once we get back into alignment, that's where you get to feel the excitement of expression, of self-expression, of connection, of serving, of knowing how you get to help others. You get to live in a state of health and vibrance and abundance for your gifts and your skills. And that's when we shift from a lot of fundamental shifts that we need to make. But one of them is moving from competition into collaboration.
Totally.
And that allows us to step into a whole new level of access. But it starts on this personal level of learning how to heal and transmute our own karma, which when you ask the right questions about why you're stuck, you know how you know what your karma is. Whatever you're stuck on in your life right now that you've been stuck on for a while, whether it's appearing for you in your health, your wealth, your finances, or your personal relationships, there is a belief system, because everything, here's what we know about this plane. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we do know too. And one of the fundamental principles is that you can create whatever you want here, and it all starts from a thought. And our thoughts, so many of us aren't aware of our thoughts. And what's really going on with our thoughts is our thoughts are on autopilot, and they're looping false belief systems that we don't even realize are happening. So we're creating from already this deficit.
Yeah, which isn't good.
Here's why I love the Akashic Records. I don't know, I think I mentioned that they're a timeline cruncher, but here's an example of why they're a timeline cruncher. Because not only will they help you identify that belief system, but this is actually a really cool thing about karma. I discovered this not too long ago. In Mount Shasta, got personal stuff blazing through my field that I'm working through, and I'm hiking along this railroad track. It's like 1.5 miles along railroad lava rocks to get to Fairy Falls, so I could be, let this go, Kuan Yin, help me, so I can be baptized, let it go. And okay, how many people we got live here?
At the moment, we've got 8 live.
8, okay, the number of infinity, so I'm going to tell you this. I was going to swim naked when I got there, but it was too cold and I chickened out. Okay, just a little fun. Hiking along, Kwanya, I'm coming, Kwanya, and help me with it. Oh. And what she ended up revealing to me on the way back was a download about karma and how we can actually go through a process, a methodology that allows us to understand the karmic debt, and actually turn the karmic debt into karmic asset. So we're taking it from its shadow expression and learning to express it in a higher octave, in its gift expression. And when we do that, it's not only the transmutation from the lower octave to the higher octave, where obviously it's going to benefit us. I shouldn't even say benefit us more, because it benefits us plenty damn well in the lower octave if we pay attention to it. So technically it's benefiting us the same up here in this octave. But the cool thing about it is that when we recognize it, we can also, when we do this next step, when we recognize the impact, meaning the price that we've paid. So maybe your false belief system is that you're not worthy of expressing your genius and creating your own job in life, and receiving abundance for that. And so when that is corrected by acknowledging it, but then understanding, okay, that false belief system of unworthiness, how has that actually affected all of my life? I talked about health, wealth, relationships, and your mission here on the planet. When you examine how that false belief system has affected your health, how has it affected your wealth? How has it affected your mission on the planet? How has it affected your personal relationships? Then you know truly what price you've paid for it. And when we're willing to acknowledge that without judging ourselves, but just let it, when I was a kid, we called this a pork chop, slap you upside the head. And you'll receive the true impact. It's really just an acknowledgement of energy exchange, and the acknowledgement allows it to be expressed as assets. So it's like we get compounding returns once we examine the impact in all of those areas. And it may feel a bit arduous to follow that methodology. However, I can guarantee you it's like flying through a wormhole if you're experiencing this karma. And to bring this story succinct, the beautiful thing is this is an example of how the Akashic Records work. So as I'm trudging along, and I tell you, I'm like talking to Kuan Yin, I'm opening the records, and who I have access to in the records: masters, teachers, loved ones, and guides, which are all truly just an agreed upon storyline, agreed upon characters who each one portray a certain personality characteristic set of the creator, and are all expressing together here. It's all you, it's all your higher self, it's all God. And it looks like ascended masters, teachers. When I talked about masters, teachers in the records, teachers can be ascended masters, angels, your loved ones. Ooh, you got new teachers coming in right now. Somebody does. My third eye is clicking as I'm saying this. Who's feeling that? Who wants to own, oh, that was me? Teachers come in and are lesson specific. They walk us, just like in life, right? They walk us through certain aspects of learning. Our loved ones also show up in the Akashic Records. Of course, during this time of the year, the veil is incredibly thin, and our loved ones are very, very present in our field. And our guides, our spirit guides, who have been with us from the time our soul signed the contract and came into being here, which we hear about. You know, you actually do hear about your angels, your angelic guides, or your spirit guides. They've broken through a little bit here in the world of the physical.
Yeah.
So that's a nutshell of what the Akashic Records are, and the beings, the assistance, the information that you'll find when you tap into the records.
Yeah. Absolutely a brilliant way of describing it. And Sue's, when you said you were trekking through, says it sounds so wonderful. It does. It sounds very, very wonderful.
Well,
Uh,
doggone it, you know what, Ray? When you were reading my bio, I realized I updated it not long ago, and I added a couple of cool things to it. But the Huffington Post has been a thing of the past for a while. I'm like, you need to update that, Emily, because The latest chapter of the Akashic Academy looks like events in vortexes and training deeply in the Akashic Records with, I feel like I won the lottery on this one. It still is like a pinch me.
I think you did win the lottery on this one.
If we have any fans of Ancient Aliens out there, or a myriad of other media outlets, you may have heard of the crystal skulls, the legend of the 13 crystal skulls of the planet. And these are fascinating technology. There are several of them that have surfaced on the planet and are circulating and doing really powerful work. And guess what? One of them is the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, caretaken by Bill Holman, who is a karate grandmaster and just an absolutely incredibly wise and learned and expressed and gentle and kind man. And I met him, let's see, early last year doing a documentary film that I was asked to be on. I actually got to open the records of the
Cool.
film, and the beautiful relationship and connection that has emerged since then, because the skull really is a record keeper. It's holding all of the information of the planet. And when we sit present with that and work really deeply with this piece of technology that Hewlett Packard themselves, just go look at all the research, everybody. It's really fun. Hewlett Packard talks about this being the most mysterious piece of quantum technology on the planet, and not being able to actually date where it came from or how it got here, but completely authenticating this piece of technology. So imagine just getting to sit face to face with that crystal skull, and a room full of high level masters in vortex experiences where we're going into guided meditation, and we're actually going out into the vortexes as well with the skull. It is just ridiculous fun. And that is way better than contributing to the Huffington Post, man.
Yes, you do need to update.
Right?
You definitely do need to update that. Yes. And that, especially, as there, more and more vortexes are actually being mentioned now. I've run retreats. I've been going down to Glastonbury for 20 odd years now, and
Mm,
since last year, I've run about 3 retreats down there, and that's one of the vortexes, and it's so
yeah.
amazing to actually be down there and experience the energy. And each time, every time I've been down there, it's been so a different experience, and new stuff has come up, and it's just so amazing when you get a chance to go to these vortexes around the world.
I find there's a synergy happening. There's not only an activation that happens within each individual being, we are also reactivating the energy and the wisdom of the vortexes, and they're designed to communicate together. So that just makes me so happy, that you're doing that work, and proud of you, my friend, because that's a lot of work too. I know that from experience, that it's incredible growth stretch for those of us visionaries who feel part of this, creating these experiences for the return of the wisdom on the planet. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome, and thank you for doing it as well. And the more people, the more of us that do it, the better it's going to be, because it's just going to, Gaia is just going to expand, and everything's just going to, it's just so amazing. It's sometimes the words, there are just no words for it.
Mhm. Well, I would love to share with everybody a little more on how to access the Akashic Records. I know that we pulled you in with that title. And while this is my, I'm glad you asked, my area of expertise and genius, I can't give all of it to you all today. However, I want to share with you some high level ideas around how you can get in, how you might already be getting in, and then also invite you into a deeper study. Recently, well, I got to share first how my vision has grown, what that has looked like in my business. But the really beautiful thing is that as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, as a quantum thought leader and as a philanthropist, I have to say, as the wealth of my business has grown, what I can now share with others really feels congruent to what I preach about this wisdom, which is everyone has access to it. And I just released the first incarnation. This is the first time I've taught this information in 5 years, and the first time I've ever taught it live. But I've taught a masterclass of Learn to Read the Akashic Records Level 1 for free. And so I'm going to be running that again in November. And for any of you who feel the desire and the curiosity to dive into that, this used to be part of my $5,500 program. And I love the restructuring of how I really get to share it with everyone now. It breaks a lot of rules. There are online business friends that talk about 5 days is way too long and you can't offer it for free because people won't value it. And you know what? I shouldn't be saying it like that, because
No.
it's actually, all of that is very true. And there are always outliers. And I feel like the outliers, those of you who are going to recognize the value and that your soul is being called to this, it will be medicine for you at this time. And I get to restructure my time, how I show up when we reach various different levels on our ability to source and resource and create abundance. It allows us to more dynamically restructure our time. And that means I get to show up and dive in with you if I want to and break all the rules. And I do. And it's so fun. So for you who are interested, I'm just reach out to me personally. Send me a message on Facebook. That's what I prefer. You can also comment here, but I prefer, let's start the personal connection, because I'm going to take really good care of you when we go through this process. And when those sign up links are ready for you to dive into that next deeper dive, I'll share them with you.
Yeah, and I can say I did it. I
Yeah.
did the first one, and it is amazing. I learned, I've known about the Akashic Records for a long while. I've had other people do readings for me. I always found it really difficult to get in myself, but I have to say those 5 days, absolutely brilliant. And the fact that Emily gave all that information out there was absolutely amazing, and you will if you do take it up, you will absolutely love it. I can tell you that it was really good.
Thank you very much. I received that. All right. So a high level overview, though, for those of you who are curious to access your records right away, and or to recognize if you're already in your records. Couple things. Let's start with the understanding of how you want to go into that space. And that is with an ownership of, you created whatever you're not liking, whatever you're going in for guidance or clarity or health or vision about that feels stuck in your life. You created it. Okay. You created it for the purpose of learning. So owning that and going in with the purposeful intention of understanding, okay, why am I stuck in this area? Why am I creating this in this area? And what do I need to do to fix it? So being prepared to take ownership and to communicate with the records in that way. Now, we talk about communication, or I just talked about communication. There are different aspects of communication. So that's more of the script for y'all actors out there, okay? If you're an actor like me, actress like me, right? That's a script for you. Okay. And there are other aspects, nuances to how you want to go in that you want to consider. The guides are saying, actually right now, talk about for a second, back up and explain in other language and what it means to go into the Akashic Records. It simply means to shift your consciousness. The guides are saying when I was using that languaging of going into the records, there was, it's almost like there was a reception out there of that it has to feel a certain way or present in a certain way. And sometimes it can be different for everyone. There are similar patterns that go in. I shouldn't say sometimes. It's always a little different for all of us. What else let me see what else I want to talk about going in. Preparing yourself to go in. It's really a shift of consciousness. That's why everybody has the ability to do it. The guides are saying because shifting our consciousness actually is just shifting our brainwaves. And there's plenty of research about that and about how to do that. Okay. The Akashic Records are designed to, okay, back to the communication. When it comes to how they communicate with you, they're designed to answer any question that you have. We think of answering questions as being very communicative and cerebral and in language, in human English language for most of us, like we're experiencing right now. But that's not always how the information comes in. Many times the information will come in color. Maybe you'll notice sound frequencies or shifts happening within your ears. Maybe you'll notice energy moving in your body. Maybe you won't notice anything. And all of that is okay. Because as cool as it is to experience an instantaneous cerebral response with the records, I know that you'll get there. Eventually, everybody gets there. How relaxed and connected you are to allow that to happen in the beginning, I don't know. How the guides are going to speak to you, I don't know. But I do know that everybody eventually gets to that very coherent, communicative state within the records. But the crazy thing is, regardless of how well you communicate when you're in the records, 90% of what happens for you unfolds after the session anyway. In reflection, in aha moments, in things that you identify happening in the world. So the records don't work with you just in the session. They also work with you in terms of what you identify as patterns or how you identify things differently in the world afterwards. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it does to me. Can those that are watching, let us know if it makes sense to
Yeah, let
you.
us know.
On them. Whilst we're waiting, um, let's have a look at some of the comments. Yeah, Jay Sinclair says, "Wow, beautiful real talk." Thank you, Emily. God bless you both. Kathy, who was also on that as well, says, "I encourage everyone to do it. I went through it, and Emily opened up so much for me. Amazing." And that was the 5-day thing. Sue
Okay.
says, "Makes sense."
It's really interesting. Those of you who attended the last masterclass of level 1 of Learn to Read the Akashic Records, obviously you're taking in a lot of information and you're still digesting and processing that. But I noticed, perhaps you will notice too, if you got enough space. I know I blew your mind up a lot last week. You might not have a lot of space left. But that explanation that just came in is very new. It's a new perspective. It's a new way of sharing this information. I noticed that it felt like there was a different guide who was guiding my thoughts and the vocabulary that I was sharing as we were moving through that. So that's pretty cool. It's always cool when I notice a different teacher or guide coming in, it's speaking to an up level. So that was fun. Thank you all.
Excellent. I'm so glad that came in for you.
So accessing the records just has to do with getting yourself into a relaxed state. Here's the simplest way. Intend to tap into the records and ask questions, journal. that's really the simplest breakdown. And what I found the most effective, which is why there's a lot of journaling and reflecting in my program. But I remember reading Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh.
Yeah.
Incredibly fascinating. And I'm like, oh, I could do this too. If Neil can do this, why can't I do this? And so as I'm reading, I remember starting like a journal spiral notebook that I dug out of somewhere. Nothing special, but so special, right? Because I just started letting it rip and asking every question that I wanted to about the universe. And I couldn't even believe, I could believe. It took me a while, but I'm like, wow, girl, where'd that come from? You'll be really surprised if you allow yourself the time and the reflection, especially right now, because the divine feminine is wanting to speak to you in that reflection time and bring through a connection into the Akash. Really, really powerful. So that's my easy tips on how to get in if you're just starting. And if you are excited about taking me up on the offer to learn deeper into level 1, send me that link. Or I'm not link. Sorry, I usually send you links. Sorry, that came out. That was like an automatic loop. Take 2. Send me a private message is what is my top choice. You can also comment below here if you want.
Yeah. You
Send
can.
me one, Emily. But I'd rather you reach out and let me know who you are and reach out personally.
Yeah. And Emily is very good at getting back to you. So, so don't, she's not like one of those where you contact them and then days later you're thinking, oh, well, that person wasn't that brilliant, were they? They said contact and they haven't got back to me yet. Emily does get back to you. So do, do feel free to reach out and connect with her because she will actually get back to you. And Jay says, just Jay's laughing at that one as well, which is pretty cool. So is there anything else sort of like that you thought that you feel that we need to know, that those watching kind of like need to know about the Akashic Records?
Probably, but I just want to play because you told me you get to pull a card and do an activation. I'm like, yeah, we get to play.
We do get to play.
I'm excited about that. Oh, so let's see. There's probably a lot that I need to tell you all about that, about going into the records. And is there anything? Let me ask you this: as an experienced receiver of that intelligence last week, what would you say is a takeaway that they need to know? Well, let's both think of one. I'll think of one too. And
Okay.
and then can we play, Miss Ray?
Of course we can. Look, I got them here.
Okay, good. I'm excited.
Okay, so I would say my biggest takeaway was actually getting out of my headspace and getting into my heart.
Hmm.
That was my biggest thing because I have done that and I can do that, but the actual way of getting into the records is actually quite a meditative way, which actually helps you um, to bring your mind down into your heart, to actually go into your heart space.
Mm,
So the ritual part of it is really good.
thank you for that. I'm getting some downloads still coming in as you're sharing. Thank you. Okay. My one piece that I would say I want to share with you all that is something that you need to know. What's coming through right now is the recognition that there's something bigger for you than what you think you're coming in for. And you're not crazy. And if you get really centered with yourself, the guides are saying, you know this. And it feels like there is something pressing in your life right now, which is inviting healing and exploration. But there's really a bigger transformation at stake for you. And if you're ready for that, show up and take this very, very seriously, and know that a characteristic of the Akashic Records is to unfold just what you need to know next as you need to know it, and to hold you very gently and gracefully. Even sometimes when the challenge is great, you will be held very gracefully in the space. And if you're truly ready for that and you've been seeking that level of transformation, this is the part of the hero's journey where the magician shows up with the elixir and invites you to exit the ordinary world. And there is the refusal of the call, but for those of you who are ready to exit the ordinary world, I can give you the tools that you need for the next stage of your journey, and I'm excited and honored to do that.
Beautiful, beautiful. And now we get to play for the cards.
Now we get to play.
We do. Okay, so as those that know me, when I do the cards, I don't predict the future with the cards. I work very much in the present. So even though I work with past life regression and I could take people back in the time, it's to heal the past so they're fully present. When I take them into the future, it's so that when they know about the future, they come back to the present. So everything I do is for the present. So let's see. What does Emily and everyone who's watching this live or at a later date need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? What does Emily and all those that are watching this live at a later date need to know for their highest good?
I thought you were going to pick
Okay.
people from the audience. I didn't know I was getting one. Hang on. I feel like surprised and like really excited again.
Yes, it's for you as well. And it's actually a beautiful card, and it's sort of like flipped itself out. So I didn't choose it; it flipped itself out.
I like
Watching
flipper.
watching clouds, lie back, rest, and relax.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I've been watching so many clouds lately.
Yeah, I get, and quite often when these cards come up, it's actually confirmation about stuff that we're already doing. It's going, yep, you're on the right path. You're going in the right direction. So, for those that are watching, if you haven't already, just take that step back and take that time to actually relax into life at the moment. Let the stresses and everyday little bits, just let them float away like clouds, and
Oh,
just relax.
so good. Mm. I don't know if we're awkward pausing or activating, but I'm activating just to let you know. But if you're waiting for me to say something, I'm like super blissed out right now. So
Yeah.
like nudge me.
No. I'm kind of like I'm letting it sink in. It's like it's like saying to people, don't be afraid of the silence. When you're fully present, everything just stops still, and you can be and sit in that silence. You don't have to have that talking, that constant noise all the time. This is what this is saying. Allow yourself to have that silence, that time for yourself to actually relax, be you, be fully present. And it's kind of like when you're watching the clouds, even now when we're talking, you just feel the energy slow down. It's kind of like you talk about watching the clouds, and your mind kind of like goes into that um, s- cloud-like state, which is absolutely beautiful. And Kathy says, "Thank you, Ray. That is so perfect for me today
Mm,
and speaks to me so much." Beautiful. Yep, confirmation, yes. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
that's a tremendous activation, my friend. Very potent. What's coming through that I want to share about the clouds is like left field from this. So I'm going to sit here for another second. How long do we get? Do we get all the way to the top of the hour? No,
My
I'm gonna
show my show can be as long or as short as I like. It's my show.
oh, she just said, I am in charge. Ooh, I felt that thing. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm going to sit here and buzz for just a moment.
Yeah, that's okay. Jay says, "Thank you both very much for sharing. A very good start to my morning." Beautiful. And if you get to watch some clouds today, that'll be absolutely brilliant.
Oh, well, I here's what I want to share. It's a really interesting and unique, um, hopefully just as powerful and exciting, but completely different episode of how Ray shared it. Whew. Eh, this is cool. We both get to be like movie directors in creating powerful expressions. Man, you did really good. Whew, I gotta come back. So here's what I'm excited to share with you all around clouds and what my experience has been, and to invite you into activation where those of you who feel like uh, stretching your imagination a little bit, perhaps stretching it to the limits of storytelling and how we've experienced extraterrestrial a connection here on the planet. For me, clouds are a lot of times communication, and or directly just, hey, there's a ship in the sky. I live in a particular place on the planet where there are waves there. They're called lenticular clouds. They look like pancakes or ships stacked up on top of each other. And of course, there is scientific explanation for them, and there is also metaphysical explanation for them. And the experience that I want to share with you in particular happened when I was in Mount Shasta, and a lenticular cloud formed where I was staying on this particular trip. Beautiful location that I was oriented. So as I looked out the huge front window, just like imagine gigantic telescope right up in, not really telescope, but perfectly like someone put it in the viewfinder for you, right?
Yeah.
Got Shasta here, and then Black Butte, which is one of the four anchoring points of Mount Shasta, both in my perfectly framed view. And I can see the vortex coming through me. And right, this is so nuts. I was there probably 2 weeks away from the sun rising degree exact through that vortex. It was exact enough for me. I'm like, holy crap, every morning the sun just like rose that vortex. And so I was there filming the documentary that I spoke about earlier with Ruben Langdon and Bill, the skull keeper. And this particular day I had off. So I woke up around 7:30 to this beautiful vortex sunrise. And there's also a lenticular cloud set. I don't know if I should call them. There are three of them there. Just dancing, Miss Ray. Opalescent light shining through it, and like the golden orange glow. And I'm like, all right, I see you. I see you. And I get up out of bed and I go downstairs and make my coffee. And that's where I have the big picture window, or the second big picture window. It's like this beautiful properties oriented. So every room basically has
Nice.
a incredible view. And so I go downstairs and I'm viewing it from downstairs and I'm just watching. And this cloud starts showing off, changing position, like changing shape, I should say, changing shape in the sky, but not necessarily its position or its coordinates. Totally shown off. I'm like, I see you. I see you showing off. And I'm watching for an hour and a half, just connecting, right? And I get up to go fill my coffee and I get the ping in my mind, which I thought was just me talking to myself. So it still happens to us all. Okay. Sometimes you think it's just you talking to yourself, or you question, is that me talking to myself? But I get the ping, okay, get your phone, here we go, as if to record the cloud. And I'm thinking, man, I've been recording all week. I don't want to show up and film more right now. I just want to like be. And I come walking back in with my cup of coffee, left my phone in the kitchen. And I look up, and I know what's going on in this landscape because I've been watching it for a very long time, hour and a half now. This black like cloud starts formulating. This is all happening in nanoseconds, and it's starting to get a look like closer and closer. I can see it's coming towards me. I'm like, is it smoke? No. Oh, those are bees. And then I realize, Emily, there are no way those are bees. That is way too far. Oh, those are birds. Emily, not birds. No, ma'am. And I keep watching, and Ray, this was a fleet of ships. Very
Wow.
Star Wars, like the round in the middle, both with the little like rays. See, does that make sense if I acted out like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's what it looked like. My heart is pounding. I'm like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Are they coming for me? Why didn't I get my camera? Am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? And they get closer and closer, and they come in and they fly in formation, then line up vertically and drop one by one into Mount Shasta.
Wow.
So that being said, I feel like there's a really powerful connection with our galactic ancestors, and there's invitation to begin to open up and to stretch our imagination to kind of this like we think a lot about what it means in terms of our own personal healing and how it gets to change our planet, but what about the fantasy aspect of how it pushes our imagination, and it pushes those mystical experiences of what we get to create. And I just felt like that was a potent story and a connection that I wanted to
Mm.
make with clouds, and obviously our extra dimensional friends and the Galactic Federation specifically. I feel like really want to come through and be present and offer their support and appreciation for those humans who are on the front lines of what it means to expand your consciousness and to serve others.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
That's, that makes absolute perfect sense with what's going on as we speak at the moment. So it's nearly time to wrap up the show. But Emily, do you have any insights or thoughts that you want to leave our viewers?
Thank you for spending this time, whether you've been here live or on the replay. And again, I want to acknowledge that the meetings you have with the Akashic Records are sacred meetings. I recognize from a bigger perspective that I'm here to usher people through a very powerful time of personal and collective transformation on the planet, which is a really unique process. So, for those of you who feel like you want to explore that, I want you to really invite you to reach out to me, because I realize that you're here for a bigger service to the planet, and you might be showing up in what is referred to in Hollywood as the everyman avatar, where you feel like up until I quit college and moved to Hollywood, my life was super everyman. So I definitely understand what it feels like to feel like you're from a small town, or how do I make that big level of impact. I promise you that you are perfectly suited for what it is you're here to do, and I can help you break down the aspects of inappropriate belief the guides are saying right now based on your experiences and your pain points. Like, let's get that out of the way and see the truth of who you are, because everyone has it. It's being offered right now to those who are willing to step forward and say, me, I want that.
Excellent. Yeah. So do get in touch with Emily. And Sherry says, fascinating. Thank you for sharing your experience, Emily.
You're
Um, that
very
was, I mean, I was getting chills when Emily was talking about that, because a lot of that has been coming up recently around with the C5 contact.
we
Um,
do CE5 contact at my events. It's really fun. Very fun. I do it often myself too when I'm just out hiking.
yeah, I've never
Do you have
actually, I've never actually done it. I suppose, I suppose really we think in the UK, we don't really get to do that, but I really should, when I'm out, especially when I'm next down in Glastonbury. I'm actually going to try that.
it's really fun to do at your retreats too,
Mm,
to lead everybody in a guided meditation. I'll be happy to share some tips for you behind the scenes of how I did it. But
that'd
I
be
did
brilliant.
Dr. Greer's protocol, Dr. Stephen Greer,
Yeah,
and in a little Akashic channeling as I do. But I want to close with a really funny story.
cool.
You know what I did on my last event?
No, go on.
I had this alien mask, and after the CE5, which we saw a ton of things in the sky, and we had a lot of connection through the like car alarms going, like alarms going off in the middle of the night, car alarms going off, cell phone 911 alarms going off, like all night. There were probably 6 different events that happened. It was really, and during the CE5 meditation I talked about, now understand we're going to get it afterwards too, and you can get these things, and then we got them all night, which is really fun. But I had an alien mask, and I hid in the alien mask and snuck up on everybody. It's a really fun. Oh, so fun. And then we all sang karaoke.
Brilliant. I love that story. I love that. I love that. Sue says, thank you both. So enjoyed all the knowledge you have shared. Thank you, Sue, for joining. And thank you to everyone who has commented on the show tonight. And of course, if you are watching the replay, and you've got any insights or comments, please do post them, because Emin and I will sort of like be tapping back to see if anyone has put anything else on there for us to answer, or give you uh, any notice or anything. And of course, if you are, if any of you watching have reached that crossroads in your life, and you need guidance in finding the meaning of your life and getting clear on your path, then I would love to be that guide for you. So please feel free to connect with me, and we can arrange a free 20 to 30-minute video call to find out more about each other and how you can empower yourself to take charge of your destiny. And obviously, please feel free to join my weekly newsletter and receive a free future life progression recording, where I take you into a future lifetime to get guidance and clarity, so that you can use in your current life, as well as a couple of other free gifts. And Kathy says, thank you both. This was great. Thank you, Kathy, for joining in and being part of this as well. It's been absolutely brilliant. And yes, so thank you everyone so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more women who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny, just like you. And those that want to actually connect with the Akashic Records, because there are more and more people and now coming into this, because as Emily said, we're sort of like raising our vibration now, and it's becoming easier for us to access them now. So please do feel free to share this. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified of when the show goes live in the future. But also when I post new guided meditations, and I recently posted one for sleep, and I did one to celebrate Samhain yesterday, which you can still do. The veil is still fairly thin at the moment, so you can still connect with your ancestors, departed loved ones, pets, and get some clarity and healing for them. My transformational journey takes you back to your incarnation before you came to Earth. So you actually get to go to the galactic stars, to your star seeds. So again, Emily, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. It's been absolutely brilliant. I loved having you on the show last time. It's been brilliant having you on the show this time. And everybody, I thank you all again and see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.